This is All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. Thank you for joining us for part of your day. We'll continue now with another conversation about an Oscar-nominated film, The Voice of Hind Rajab. It takes an innovative look at the true story of a 6-year-old girl in Gaza City. She was in a car with her relatives when they were shot at by Israeli forces occupying the area. Hind was the only one in the car left alive. She was alone, except for the voices of Red Crescent emergency workers who stayed with her on the phone as she pleaded for help, and they tried to find a way to rescue her. Now, those workers in the film are played by actors, but the voice of the little girl on the other end of the line is the real recording of Hind. The film has been nominated for Best International Feature Film at this year's Academy Awards, and when director Kaouther Ben Hania, who had previously been on our show to talk about another of her films, Four Daughters. But when she joined us to talk about The Voice of Hind Rajab, I started by asking her about the first time she heard that 6-year-old's voice.
Actually, it was not long time after the event. I was with Four Daughters doing the Oscar campaign, and I was at the airport in Los Angeles. And I was glued to the news, following what was happening in Gaza and thinking about what kind of story I can tell when the unthinkable is happening in reality, you know. So I was in this position of despair, and I heard the voice of Hind Rajab. It was a small extract on internet, on social media, as you said, and it haunted me. I couldn't unhear it. I was about to start another movie, which was written, financed, and I stopped everything because I couldn't do or think about any other thing than this little girl pleading for her life, surrounded by the dead body of her family, and asking to be saved. So when I had this strong feeling of helplessness, and I hate it when I feel helpless, you know. So I asked myself, what can I do? I couldn't save her, but I can do movies. So from there started the idea to do this movie.
I know you were able to speak with Hind's mother about making this film, and you wanted her to agree before you moved forward. What did she want you to know about her child? What did she want to know about the film before she said yes?
At the time, yes, it was the first step, because I have no legitimacy if the family don't want to, you know. So it was the first step. I called Hind mother. At the time, she was still in Gaza, in a very horrible situation. She was mourning, but at the same time moving from one house to another. But she's, for me at least, we became very close now since the first call. The representation of resilience, you know. She's a very courageous, strong woman, and she told me, my daughter is not the only child in Gaza. Every day there is Hind Rajab's, ongoing, and I want justice for my daughter. So if this movie can help in a way, you know, to bring some accountability in this horrible world, please do it. So, and from there, having her words in my mind, I started working on this movie, and we kept in touch. And I'm very happy that, she was evacuated from Gaza. Finally, it was a long process, but we succeeded. And now she's in a safe place. And we met actually physically, which was a very, very moving encounter, because we met, my actors, and the real Red Crescent person, the for real hero, and Hind's mother. We met in a film festival around the movie, and it was very, very moving moment.
I'm sure it was. My guest is director Kaouther Ben Hania. We're discussing her film, The Voice of Hind Rajab, which uses actors and the real voice recordings to tell the story of the Red Crescent workers who attempted to rescue a little girl from Gaza City. The film is so interesting to watch because it's sort of narrative nonfiction. It's a real story with fictionalized parts, but the audio from Hind is real. Why did you think that blend of fact and dramatization of events fit this story? Why was it the way to tell this story?
This story was investigated. The proof are there, The forensic architect did a great job identifying which weapon, which Israeli tank was firing at this family with the satellite image analyzing the sound. The Washington Post did a great piece of investigation about this story. So I was thinking what cinema can bring, more than proof. More than explaining, what happened. And I thought that cinema, and that's why I love cinema, can bring empathy, can bring emotion, Let's not, stop explaining and let's live the life of those Red Crescent employee. Their job is to save lives, which is a very noble thing, and they are working in impossible situation, being faced with a moral dilemma imposed by the Israeli army because they can't send an ambulance. The ambulance in this story is 8 minutes away from this little girl, and they couldn't send it because they risk the life of their aid worker. If they go there to save this girl, they will be bombarded by the Israeli army, and they needed to have the approval of the Israeli army. And this is why this call was so long, because Hind was on the phone telling them, come and get me. But they can't, because they can, their colleague can be killed, So it took them all this time to do a coordination operation through intermediary with the Israeli army. So the Israeli army don't bomb, give them a green light, and don't bomb their ambulance. And at the end, there is no spoiler in this movie because it's a known story. When they got the approval from the Israeli army, they sent the ambulance, and this is in the recording actually. We have the voice of Zainu, Yusuf Zainu, who's one of the two paramedics sent to save Hind. He sees the car, he's meter away, and he says, there she is. And we hear the bomb. They were bombed, killed, and then the phone was cut with Hind. And then they spent 12 days under siege, and nobody had news, from them.
Yeah. At one point in the film, towards the end of the film, you show the real Red Crescent members on cell phones, and you blur the actors in the background, and it goes back and forth a little bit. Why did you want to make sure that the audience saw the real Red Crescent workers?
Because what I just said, when I was listening to the recording, which was the starting point of this movie, and following this coordination thing, and finally the ambulance was sent. When I heard the explosion, how they bombed the ambulance, I told myself, this is not real. Which is a paradoxical sentence because it's real,
Yeah.
So I was thinking, my job as a filmmaker is to find the right form, to express those things. And I had this incredible archive filmed by the Red Crescent people at this exact moment when they heard the real person, they heard the bombing of their colleague, and they were like trying to understand what happened. And at this moment, I said, I have to tell the audience, this is real. And let's go to archival documentary mode after, at the end of the movie.
We got a very nice text that says, this is the best movie of the year. A compelling and very moving real story. Thank you to the filmmaker for bringing this tragic story to the screen for the world to see. I just wanted to read that too. The set was created in Tunisia. It's the Red Crescent Center. That's where most action takes place, within the
Yeah.
Red Crescent Center. Why did you choose to keep all of the action in one location?
Because, for me, it was out of question to do the mise en scène of this little child in the car, For me, it's an ethical question. We have her voice. Her voice was alive, was strong, and I needed to honor her voice. And I wanted to shoot this movie with a respectful distance, which is from the point of view of those who listen it, you know. So it's in the offices of the Red Crescent dispatcher, and their position in a way uh, resemble to our position around the world, because we are hearing voices coming from Gaza, we are seeing in social media, but we have our hands tied, So the position being in those offices, it's, there is not a drop of blood in the movie. There is no graphic images. We are just filming people in offices. It sounds very boring like this, people in offices. But when we understand what is happening to them and how they will do everything possible to save this little girl, uh, I was personally in admiration to those people, and I wanted also to pay homage to their struggle, to their work, saving life during very, very hard situation.
You were able to connect your actors with the real life Red Crescent workers who they are playing. What did your actors hope to learn from the real Red Crescent workers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a paradoxal thing for an actor to play a living human being, because actors are used to a character written on paper. So for them, it was a responsibility. They needed to talk to the real people, to ask them questions, to depict them in a very accurate way. So this connection between the actor and the actor in this movie, I was so lucky to find those four great, wonderful actors. They were aware that they are vessels, for the real person. So the connection between them was very, very important for the movie.
What's been the response of people to the film? What have people said to you? Something that stuck with you?
Something?
Yeah, if something that someone has said to you about the film that has really stayed with you.
Yeah. The reception, there are two elements. People are afraid to go to watch the movie. Some people, they don't think that they can take it. And I in general tell them, you have to bear witness, it's
Just go
not
see
your
it.
life. It's not your life. Thanks God. You are privileged. You have to bear witness. And if it's really too hard, do something about it. It's better than hiding. And when people watch the movie, the same people afraid, they are very grateful because they witnessed something very strong. And it's a human connection, this movie, there is something that transcends appartenance, religion, because we are talking about child. And the most significant feedback I had from audience, I've been doing Q&A, is when people tell me this movie changed me. And this is for me very, very flattering as a filmmaker.
That was my conversation with director Kaouther Ben Hania. Her latest film, The Voice of Hind Rajab, is nominated for Best International Feature Film at the Oscars.